Hello, Tim here. Welcome to my channel. Today we're talking about decorative boxes, jewelry boxes in particular, or small and precious things. And what we'll look at is a couple examples of some decorative wood and how I added different things to it to make an interesting box. In this particular case here, this is a Montana mossy agate that I picked up a few years ago when we were out there. So it's just kind of a little decorative knob to pick it up. This is quilted maple that came from a place out in Oregon, and inside is turned, little cavity, the grain of the wood and how it reflects differently. The inside of the lid, the rim of this and the rim of this one here is the same stuff. It's a darkened walnut that's called Ebonex. It's used to accent for trim and detail, but it's technically it's walnut, but it looks like ebony. Inside here, I had a little abalone star snowflake kind of thing that they use on fingerboards for guitars. I had that left over from a banjo that I made that's hanging up on the wall over on the other side of the shop. So I had that, I put that in there, and it kind of makes a nice little detail. And that's quilted maple. And the bottom has got that Ebonex around there, nice accent trim. This has got an interesting story that when I go into, sometimes I go into secondhand stores like Goodwill or someplace like that, and I look for old high school shop projects that were kind of half done. And in this particular case, I got this for a couple bucks. This is cocobolo wood, and it's actually a toxic wood, which isn't really good for your lungs to breathe in. But it was actually a goblet like this, or however that, like that. And it was kind of a funky shape, and I didn't really like that, so I cut the bottom off and made the top and made a little container. My wife has this at her desk, and she keeps caramels in there or something like that. And this is quilted maple that I added to the bottom of this to build it up. And on the very tip here, I put a piece of antler. So this is a little, I don't know if it was this particular one that I used. I got different pieces I've used for making tool handles or something like that. It polishes up nice. Smells like burnt hair when you're turning it. But I did this because I thought I was going to make a little top, so something you can play with. But as it turns out, it never worked. I thought it would spin good because it's a hardwood. It spins a little bit, but I found out that the dark wood is heavier than the lighter side, so it always stopped on that side. You can see how that just always goes over. So it didn't work out quite as I'd hoped, but it's still kind of, that's the reason I did that, so it was a little harder surface to spin on. Now, one of the things I really like doing is finding stuff, and in the forest and some of my crazy wood talks, this is a little piece of driftwood that I found on the beach up in northern Wisconsin, along Lake Superior, and I will be using it for the lid of a box that I'm making, so something like that will be on there. So I save stuff like that. Don't ask me why, it's just what I do. I might make a handle with some of the antler too. But I find things like this inspiring. And one of the things I just love to do is look for agates. And in this particular case, this is a Montana mossy agate here. This is kind of translucent, and it's flat on one side. And I chose it for that so that it would make a nice handle for a nice sized box. This is malachite and peacock ore, which I got down in Arizona. Some of these I find myself, some of them I purchased. This was actually a barrette. It was a little bit bigger than this, and it was it's a piece of abalone, and I just thought it was beautiful color, so I mounted it to a piece of wood, and it's sumac, which I harvested actually from trees I pulled out of my backyard. So it's staghorn sumac, and then I filled the void in around here. I filled in with epoxy, and I'll be painting that black when I'm done. So this is going to be the lid for a box that I'm going to make out of this sumac chunk of wood. So the bottom is like this. I'm not sure exactly how far I'm going to go in. The box will probably be about 4 inches deep or so, and I'll turn it on the lathe and bore that out. So it'll be similar to a round box like this, with this as the top. So in the interim time, I mounted it to a chuck here and propped it up so that I can I put a spacer in there so that it would turn as true as I could make it. This stuff does not like to turn very well, but I had to keep sharpening my scraper to get it to cut, but it did a pretty good job. It's round, and it'll make a nice little touch. So that's what I do with some of these things that I find oddball things, and I find them inspirational. So these things that you gather become meaningful to you. They may symbolize a particular event, maybe an engagement, maybe a birthday or a celebration, or just a fun vacation. And you can do this yourself. It's pretty easy. And to put something down on a piece of wood like this is just merely glued on with epoxy, and it's not that hard to do. It's best to rough up the bottom a little bit with a diamond file if you can, or some to braid it a little bit so that it has a little bit of tooth to grab. But that's all you do. Just put the epoxy on there after you're done turning it, and make a little commemorative box. A lot of times I date them on the bottom and put the event maybe. They make nice gifts, and it's very meaningful, and it's a one of a kind. And that's what makes this kind of fun. It's like an adventure, and you just have a good time finding stuff, finding the next thing. And it's probably one of the thrills I have is finding pieces of wood that'll make something out of. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.